Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the rest of the panel. I always want to sort of speak at events, well, a few events like this one, but I wonder about how much I could learn from all of you who are actually sitting out there in the audience. It's my pleasure today to be talking from Vodafone's perspective around our observations and experience from a global perspective. And my role in terms of doing that is as country manager for the Internet of Things. So, make sure the technology works. Right, so it feels to me that we're standing at the top of a cliff edge and we're looking at the landscape down beneath us as SMEs and people in the business community, and that landscape seems to be changing very, very quickly, and a lot of the forces of that change are driven by technology and connectivity from our perspective. And in addition to this, there's never been a time when the barriers to compete with large business have been so low, just because of our ability to come in over the top and to challenge the way that business has been done. All that tempered with the fact that the analysts are saying that within the next 10 years, 40% of the top 500 organisations in the globe will no longer exist. So things are changing pretty quickly for us. And it leaves us with the question and for the challenge for a business like Vodafone, and we consider our job is to get businesses ready for the future. And it's changing at such pace and it's so fragmented. How do we actually do that? But I think SMEs are in probably an ideal place to capitalise on that game. Now I want to make a point on this next video when I share it with you, because I think to look forward we should also look back. And when I think about the change that many of us have seen in our generation, and I'm going to say that conscious of the fact that I'm bald and with a few grey hairs, that when you project it forward to the next generation, what are the kids who are 5 today going to experience when they're 30 or 40 in the future? And actually when we just look at this video, we realise that in our lifetime, with the changes that we've seen, our kids can't even really relate to what it was like before that. So I'll play a bit of this video. I'm conscious of the fact we've only got 5 minutes, but I think it's a very cool little video.
Sorry, imagine not carrying this around in your pocket. Your muscles would get like hot. No? Is it a typical like half calculator, projector? It looks like a film camera. Are they?
That was the first mobile phone that was in the UK.
That's funny. Ooh, are they carrying, are they like pigeons? They would just write letters to people.
Can you imagine not having mobile phones?
That's crazy. Black and white. Oh, I think they had no cars and no television. Beetles, sort of people in the war. World War I. I think World War II as well. You can tell something exciting happened, like all these little sparky bits come from the phone and show that everything's fine. I don't think it could turn me into a fairy. Not very old. 3 years? 50,000 years? £10? £100?
Nearly £2,000.
Fortunately, most of our phones now are less than 2,000 pounds, but you can see the point that I'm making, which is the pace of change is just amplifying year on year. And so what does it have in store for our children, and what's the pace of change going to mean even for them as they try and keep up with technology and integrating it into how we live, work and play? And the crazy thing is that even if you look at today's technology, fiction is stranger than life seems. I mean, so in the last 6 months, just in our own media, we've had Ford come out recently saying that the autonomous vehicle is less than 5 years away for taxis. So say goodbye to the steering wheel and the pedals. And they're changing their business model from purchasing a car to paying by kilometre. Significant change, right? We've seen the Tesla Powerwall start to be installed at home, so we now can store our own energy at the home, whether it's solar, whether it's from the grid or not. This will bring significant change to how we consume energy in the community. the one on the, what is it, your right-hand side is the, I think it's called the TEB, and it's a prototype which is now operational in China. It goes across a 2-lane road. You can see the traffic goes in between. It carries 1,200 people. And so you can see the people's imaginations coming to grips with what we're doing with public transport in the world of possibility. Domino's came out in the last week or so, great PR stunt, delivering pizza via drones. But I can tell you there's a lot more depth in terms of where drones are going to. Yeah, but good on them. And in this medical one down here, if you go to a website called Dangerous Things, this is body hacking. It was what they call body hacking. It was in the media recently, and you can buy a self-install kit to put an RFID tag in your person, which means that you'll be able to open your front door or start your car by sort of putting your finger near where that object actually is. And the freaky thing for us here in terms of dealing with changes, this isn't coming from doctors in the medical industry. This is bought offline, and you can have this installed by tattoo artists or piercing specialists. So the whole model in terms of who we trust and how we absorb information and change is changing all around us. And you've got to brace yourself because it's only going to get faster still. So the analysts have great projections around the amount of connected devices that we're going to see by 2020. This is Gartner's view, which says we'll have 25 billion connected devices. Cisco's closer to 50 billion, I think, from memory. There's a bunch of them around 30. The point is that the amount of connected devices that will affect how we live, work and play will just explode. And so that unleashes a whole bunch of potential and a whole bunch of change for us at the same time. From a network perspective, it's really interesting for us. So we see about 12 connected devices per household at the moment, which is significantly up on a few years ago. And we're building a network that has to be able to cater for sort of 40 to 50 per household for the near future. Our network core doubles in size each year, and the traffic on our network, about 70% of it is now associated with video content and streaming. It's a world of difference to how it was 5 years ago. And so we've got to ask ourselves, well, as businesses, how do we evolve and how do we change? This is something we use in the IoT team across the world in terms of the maturity, what we call the IoT maturity curve. And so people are aware of connectivity and connected devices and how we measure things. A lot of businesses now have a greater degree of awareness, and it's part of their strategies, and they're at the beginning of what we consider this adoption curve. So they've started to measure things and they've set some alerts, and when they go outside the tolerances you might do something different. But the curve goes right through the other end, and for the people who have worked out how to transform and disrupt businesses, the change can be immense. And so the ones that we really know about that are in the media often are the likes of Uber and Airbnb. They just turn a business on its head. You don't need to own a taxi company. You don't need a hotel chain to be able to connect with customers and provide the service that they need and to scale as quickly as they have. The drivers for why people are adopting digital innovation and the Internet of Things are as you would expect. So first and foremost, they're often driven by reduced cost and efficiencies in business processes. Increasingly, sustainability is an issue for us, and so to live within the resources of the planet, technology's got a big role to play in terms of how we do that with the population growth and the footprint that we leave here. And then growing sales and connecting with your customers is ever increasing in terms of accessing markets. We did some global research recently which was released, and if you Google the IoT barometer you'll see an in-depth study, but some of the key things that came out from it is that IoT is really going mainstream in terms of how people are adopting it into their business strategies. They've either got projects up and running or they intend to within the next year or so, and it's increasingly becoming part of their spend because the ones who are doing it really well are getting a great return on investment because they've got a very clear idea of what they want to achieve, measure and control, and they're setting about doing that through the use of technology. So just to sum up, so I'm not going to pretend to preach to any of you about what being a successful SME is because there's probably more experience in the room than I have in terms of working for a multinational corporate organisation. But what I would observe in terms of the things that you need to do to be successful, and what I observe in some of the organisations that we work with, who are predominantly SME in the IoT space, is those who have a really clear understanding of the market. And I mean, the history of where the markets come from, the needs of the market today, and the ability to anticipate the future needs of that market is key, just as you would expect from a strategy. Secondly, and I think Vino made this point very strongly, it's about being able to foster the right kind of talent for innovation within your organisation. So either growing it from within and developing your people to recruit for it, or to partner. Increasingly we partner with the other organisations because we can't do everything ourselves, and there's lots of pockets of specialist knowledge. I think that's really important. And the third point, which also was echoed, is one of the great advantages you've got as a SME is your ability to execute in the market and to refine and to learn and to redeploy. And that is harder for big businesses to do because they've got legacy systems and they've got organisational structures that are harder to move and be as dynamic as a SME can be. So for those businesses who do that well, coupled with the technology, the market understanding, and the right people on the journey, the possibility for your futures is just immense. So thank you for that.